right, we're cold and rainy Washington. Where are we going today?
We're going to go to a class that Alexa's very excited to attend.
I'm going to learn things.
It's the INOV8. Anyway, they're the company that bought ABT track. And they're doing a captain's course for hydraulics. So anything hydraulic on our boat, we're going to talk about. It's hands-on. I'm excited. It'll be super cool.
It will. It'll be fun. And we're in beautiful Washington, and it's been raining and it's cold. But
we're at our friend's house.
From Adagio, Greg and Carrie, which is nice. Anyway, off to class. Let's go learn some things. Welcome aboard. We are Pat, Alexa, and Gilligan the Fat Boat Cat. We still work and live aboard our 57-foot Nordhavn in Mexico. Follow us as we cruise, explore new cultures, appreciate the wonders, and work on our boat in exotic locations. We are Noeta with no ETA. Hey, thanks.
Hey.
Exactly what we're going to learn. For the ABT system, you're going to have electrical and plumbing drawings. We're going to show you how to identify your components, the system design, we'll go over types of pumps. Inside of the system, you get a greater force on another. So for example, if you have hydraulic fluid in this pipe system here, if you have 20 square inches at 200 pounds, that would be able to lift 500 pounds with 50 square inches on the other side. The difference is that this one will have to go down much further to lift that one not quite as far because you have a larger surface area that's not going to run. So this is more of an example of like what you have for your brake system in your vehicle. So just putting a little bit of foot force onto the small piston in your car, but it's going to expand the big pump that's in your disc brake system, but it's moving in just a short amount just to pinch your drums. You're going to go out to distribution manifolds. So here there's two distribution manifolds. This one's a forward one that's running your bow thruster and your capstan windlass. Then you got another one back here, basically doing the same thing. And this one is going through a filter. Yours don't actually go through a filter before it goes through a pump. And this is a fixed displacement pump here. Goes out, goes to a control valve. And this valve, depending on where it's positioned, is either going to put pressure to the back end of the cylinder or the front end of the cylinder. So here, if it goes here, it's going to push the cylinder out. It's going to push the fluid that's in here back into that, and it'll go back to the tank. Twin right angle counter rotating. So you have two props, right angle drive, and counter rotating propeller. So this prop turns this way, and the other prop turns the other way.
Through both of these, through the tube, and can be used for your body like this. You have a cooling section that's passive. So these are bronze castings for your thruster housings. These are seal carriers, also for thrusters. Actuator housings that will go through your hull. So the shaft, this is what I was talking about. This is splined. So we don't do that. We'll do everything else and then send this out for splining. And then a yoke fits over this. Kind of, you can see one over there. And then the cylinder is how it actuates. This is a 250 actuator, and this is going for a Katie Krogan 5216. We do, Katie Krogan Express, Celine, obviously Nordhavn. Noeta is outer reef. So this is a 90-115.
So this just came back from the welder this morning. We test fitted everything last week. They welded it up for us over the weekend. Today I'm just doing my test fit first to make sure it fits everything in there, and then I'll do my final, make sure everything's kosher, and then we'll have someone else quality check it, and then we'll get it out the door. So that's my main thing. I'm the assembly lead here. My name's Kate. How's it going, guys?
Fitting, depending on how the system is built out, or again, all this stuff is built here. These will get assembled, and then they'll go out for paint. So, because we can't powder coat that whole thing. Manny's the manager of the composite shop.
So, my name is Manny. I've been working in composites, specifically tooling and part production for the last 14 years. It's better to deliver a quality product than, to have excuses on why it isn't good,
Same construction.
We're at this point with limited engineering support.
You see the we're pulling and resin through the fiberglass, so slowly pulling down.
Great, one day.
They work just like somebody was just like
Or outside of the side of the boat. So this, because their boat is shallow draft, this winglet only goes, doesn't extend toward the keel, because if it did, it would ground, it would be below the keel. So we.
And then this one is our new box, which it looks pretty similar, but this is actually called a CCB, which stands for Central Control Box. And so this actually controls stabilizers, thrusters, windlasses, and everything else in the hydraulic system.
Oh, same with
Like a little kid.
See that? And I had the 46.
Lights.
I'm like a golden retriever.
Not the parameters, yes, but also what version of firmware you have.
Oh.
Because when you call a service tech with an issue, they're going to ask you what firmware version. And if you have to get a new display, knowing ahead of time what you already have is going to help.
Debriefing day one of ABT, Tracked, Innovate, Petronas, AMG, Mercedes.
No, we got a little too much. No, we're now driving today too. Holy cow, it's sunny for a second.
Sunny but foggy.
Sunny and foggy in Washington, but
So
yeah.
many frogs.
Day one, it went well. Learned a lot. Well, I learned a lot. Most of it, I think, was probably a repeat for Pat.
I learned a few things, like we have a filter on our hydraulic system that I didn't know about, and so I've ordered filters.
Now we've ordered spares, so that's good to know. Today is all the troubleshooting and maintenance stuff. Yesterday was kind of introducing the systems, so I think today there might be some good things. They talk a lot about what to do every 5 or 6 years and all of that, but I think today we're going to get in there and hands-on more and see, what if this goes wrong?
How do we make it work? Or
Yeah, so that should be good. Lots of great information. Half the fun, though, is meeting some other Nordhavn owners. We met a bunch of people that maybe we knew digitally or we knew the boat names. But that's actually, we just get busy chatting and we aren't talking hydraulics all of a sudden. Now we're talking toilets.
often a topic of conversation.
Right. So that was a lot of fun. So back to day 2. Troubleshooting. We'll get certificates. Will be so important.
There is a quiz.
There is a quiz at 3 o'clock, so we'll see how we do. But yeah, back to day 2 of hydraulics workshops.
2 of 2.
All right, so with us today we have Roger Fellows. I'm really excited to be here at with your company. I'm going to let you share what is it your company is, what does it do, and then a little bit maybe about this captain's class we've been doing that's been great yesterday and today.
Okay. Well, we are INOV8V Marine Group, which is a consolidation of 2 long-time brands in the marine industry, Westmar and ABT Track. And we're all about making really good, solid equipment that you can rely on and when you go out and cruise, and also provide the support that you need if you have any issues. So the captain's class, which you guys are here for, is really about making sure that you have a good experience with our equipment, right? So if you have a good experience, then you'll want to ask for our equipment again the next time you buy another boat.
Right.
It's all about making sure that you know,
making those connections is really cool. Like we get here in this folder, we have when our last service was, which was just September. We did a lot to all of our ABT, our hydraulics. But the connections now, we've got faces and names and phone numbers of people. When we have a question, we know who to call. And you guys have the whole history potentially of our boat. And most of the people here in Nordhavn, we also have a Katie Krogan here. Is that right? But they have the history of most of these boats, and so knowing what previous owners did is hugely valuable. And the fact that you guys keep track of that really well is really nice.
Yeah,
so
it's
appreciate
neat.
that.
So I was looking at your boat.
Yes.
Ice Dancer.
Yeah, it was Ice
originally,
Dancer too.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have all that history.
Yeah.
You're the second owner, I think.
We're really just the second owner of using it. Yeah. So it's amazing. It's hard to find with all these systems we have on the boat to find one system who somebody actually knows its entire lifespan is pretty great. So we've learned a lot. My learning curve has been a lot because I started with the image they had of the brake pedal, and here's how the hydraulic puts 500 pounds of pressure over here. So I'm like, okay, I get that. And so that's where my starting level was versus Pat's came in obviously knowing a lot more, but I feel like you learned a few things too, yeah?
System specific stuff.
System specific stuff, I think. So it was valuable for both of us. So how often do you hold these captain's classes?
We try to do it twice a year, in the
Awesome.
spring and in the fall.
And then because there was such a big demand this time, you're doing another class
doing
this
another
week?
one tomorrow.
Starting tomorrow. So that's really great. I think clearly it shows there's a lot of people that find this valuable. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thanks for coming.
Yeah,
and taking the
absolutely.
time. Yeah.
And Pat. Are we on?
Yeah, you're on.
All right. So we have just met Dan. Well, we've met you online, but we met
Yes.
you here at this class. So Dan, what boat do you have?
Chanitsa, and it's a Nordhavn 40. We just bought it a week ago.
He's brand new to the family, so welcome to the family.
Yes.
And since we're at a hydraulic workshop, what's your hydraulic
Yay,
system?
hydraulics.
What do you have?
Oh, yes, I have the Westmar,
Okay.
and it's a Series 1000.
Yeah.
The one that you can get better is the 5000 series,
Right.
but it's an analog system.
Yeah.
And
so
it's a good system.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And the class has been both about the Westmar and the ABT, the track one.
Exactly.
Yeah, which has
Yes.
been good. So have you learned a few things?
Oh, yes.
All right.
Exactly.
Well, it's been super nice to meet you. I'm excited to meet your wife at some point too.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And so I'm sure our boating paths will cross.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for
You're
playing
right.
today.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
All right. See, that was easy.
That was easy.
All
Yes.
right.
This is your center? Yes. I am a little bit. You want 2.9? And then you go here. Once you see this, 2.9. See, so this is exactly centered. And then if you want to move it, we're using the same templates. You unplug these, and here's a little hole right here. You can move it if you have to move it. Center it. Right here. So you do the whole thing right here.
Yeah, I've done it 8 times and got
So here you can see it's, Graham moves the board with the gyro in it.
Oh, yeah,
See at the finish.
yeah, I've done it.
Look at that.
Put it anywhere you want.
Oh, look at that.
Head or
So part of the great part about this class is we got to meet or get back together with old friends or meet people, other boaters. And so I have a few here. And so if you guys would tell me your boat, it could be current boat and last boat, because we have multiple Nordhavn owners here. And then what hydraulic system you have, because that's what this course is, or what's on hydraulics, what type. So we have Eric.
yes.
Have C's 5023 currently. We were on 5520. We have ABT track stabilizers and a bow thruster.
All right. And then we have Mike, who we actually met in Gig Harbor before we left the first time.
Years ago.
Yes.
Currently, I'm on 4710 called Escapade. Before that, we had 4057 was our little ship. It had a Westmar system. This boat has a track ABT system. It's a 220 hydraulic fin stabilizer.
All right. And then we have Greg, who's actually a good friend. Also, not all good friends now. We're all good friends now, but Greg and Pat, they both have a long history together. But Greg, your boat and your hydraulic.
4709, so one number before, and we have ABT track stabilizers on the boat.
And Greg is retiring from work in about 4 days, and I'm so excited for him. and then he can go off and cruise the world. But shout out, Have a Seas has a really great channel too, and their Have a Seas was named after your dog, which is Have a Needs, right? So your dog's name is Distant. Anyway, so check out the Have a Seas channel. Yeah. Or which is also what we call Gilligan sometimes. So anyway, but I really, truly, one of the cool parts about this class, not just all the stuff we learned, but now we have each other as resources too, and for not just hydraulics, but for everything else too. I think we talked probably about 30 different boat topics in the last 2 days that had nothing to do with hydraulics.
No.
So that was great. Anyway, thank you for guys for playing along. Appreciate it. And back to Patrick.
All right, back to me. All right, we just got back from the hydraulics class up in Arlington. We're back on Noeta, and so we're just going to point out a few things like on our boat, 5728. The main engine, we have 2 hydraulic pumps. The one on the main, that's a variable displacement pump. It's pretty cool. It's basically variable displacement, senses pressure demand, flow demand, and it'll increase. One of the limits, of course, is the engine speed. It can only do so much, but it's still pretty good. Among other things we've done, also when we bought the boat, we had to change a bunch of hydraulic hoses. A lot of them were pretty bad shape. So those are kind of hard to point out because they're all hidden, run inside panels and stuff like that. So come on back, I'll show you more. And we're back. Thanks for joining us once again. We're kind of in the back corner of the engine room. This is quite a bit, this is a big part of the hydraulic system, a bunch of valves. There's some pressure gauges, but we have shut-off valves on them, which is important because these gauges can leak over time. They can and do leaks. So if you have gauges, the previous owner elected to put some valves on there so the gauge is isolated when we don't need it.
Over here?
Okay, over here is the holding tank, the hydraulic reservoir. That's in this corner right over here, that's the heat exchanger. So raw water comes in, cools the hydraulic fluid and goes back into the tank. Then it circulates. I'm actually sitting on the raw water pump. So we're not going to show you that. And then on the wing engine here, there is a fixed displacement pump. It's on what they call a PTO, power transfer unit. And this one, it relies on the engine speed to increase volume. So while at idle, it does provide volume and some pressure. To really effectively get use out of it, you have to increase the RPMs on the wing engine. So the wing, we typically use that when we're coming in or anchoring. It can power the bow stern thruster, the windlass. It can also power the hydraulic stabilizers.
And we also learned at the class that we need filters, right? And where did you discover one of our filters?
We learned that there's a filter on the return line into the hydraulic reservoir, and it is located right there underneath the wing engine muffler. So I got to figure out how I'm going to change that, and it's going to involve a conversation with James because there's quite a bit of hardware there, and I mean the filter itself is about that long, so you can see there's not a lot of space. Actually, there's no space. And one of the fun part of these boats, you seem to spend a lot of time back in the deep back corners of them, that's where they seem to locate all the really fun critical stuff that you have to work on. And we're back. Thanks for joining us. This is the port side stabilizer. It's a little difficult to see. The 50, they were out a little more. This is the hydraulic actuator. It runs into basically a big rod that then moves the stabilizer. Here is something we learned, or I knew about anyway. This is it's the fin locator doodad. I forget what they call it. Anyway, it's a potentiometer, and there's a little adjustment you can do with it. So we'll have to take all this stuff above it out to get access to it. Take this cover off, and it's a little thing, a little gray thing about that wide around. and there's a hex key, and you use that to adjust it, and you just very slowly turn it. And we have the tool, the light that you plug into the control box, and it will tell you when the fin, it'll light up showing you center. It's kind of important because if you have a fin that's slightly off center, that's creating drag and slows you down and increases your fuel burn. This one is okay. The fin on the starboard side is off a little bit, so it's going to be one of the next projects this summer.
And I have a video of me practicing that at the workshop.
And on some of the boats, like on a 44 kV cruiser, you have to reach underneath the floor and kind of. We're reading back what we're getting back on.
You gotta twist it.
Twist the Allen wrench.
No, the thing.
Oh,
see?
No,
I see.
The best way to check it is to plug it in.
Now that's centered. Now you gotta tighten it.
Of course, if you're like,
see?
well, or if
That's
you're
what I
like,
was saying earlier.
if this is your fin position sensor in this side, and you're like, I don't think it's working because every time I move it, the numbers aren't
It's
changing
out.
on the box.
There it is.
You can take the one off the other side, plug it into this side, and
I did
then
it.
don't even have to
tightened
install
it.
it. Just move
you
it
don't
by
have to
hand and see if the
over-tighten it.
numbers are moving.
Ta-da!
I did it. Safe.
And we're going to order a spare. They're if you're going to lose one, if you lose two, you want to have one as a standby, because they said in the class on one fin you have a roughly 70% capability, so one is better than none. And I don't know, I think that concludes the engine room tour of our hydraulics.
Overall, I did go into the class kind of begrudgingly, I suppose, but I said I would do it because I'm a good sport. Anyway, I learned a lot. Because
you started from zero.
I started from zero, so I learned a lot. And while I still won't be the main person that fixes the hydraulics and works on it, at least I maybe can ask the right questions or can help out a little bit there. And so was it worthwhile going?
That was good stuff.
What are some pointers you took away from the class, I guess?
I learned a few things, just some, like the filter I needed. There's actually, I'm looking at my notes, hydraulic oil. There's different ISO ratings for different water temperatures, so we probably need to change our
That's right.
hydraulic oil ISO number.
Because we're in such warm water.
We're in warmer water, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'll talk to James about that. Let's see, every 1 to 2 years I recommend changing the fluid. Seems like quite a bit, but
it's a system that we want to work.
When you lose the DC system, like your battery power, the hydraulic system goes to standby power, so you get 400 psi. Basically, you're not getting much.
Just hanging on.
Just hanging on. If you have a problem, this is for anybody out there that has any type of ABT or probably any type of stabilizer. If you get alarms, take pictures. That way the techs can diagnose.
Of the code, because it'll give you a code that will go away. And so take pictures right away.
Take pictures right away.
Okay. So the class, was it worthwhile? To me, yes. To you, I hope so.
I wanted more meat.
More hands-on meat.
More hands-on. More doing stuff. Probably a little more what they would show their technicians, the people out in the field. Not that I'm going to be out there doing it alone, but I would have wanted a little more of that.
They did give us a lot of what they give their technicians in slideshows and PowerPoints, but I think what we were hoping is get in there with their hands and take one apart and put it together or something. That would have been useful, I think. We did get our hands on a couple systems, and we did get to see how stabilizers were made and see the warehouse and see the guys at work, which is great. But
pretty impressive.
Super impressive. They do.
So
that was probably another great part, is we got to know all the people and all the names of anybody we might need to contact in the future. We know who our representatives are and who can help us out. Say, hey, remember us? We were at class.
Yeah, they had our boat. And they had the last service that we did in Anacortes, so they had everything logged. So
yeah, when we showed up, they're like, here's your entire service history or your most recent service history, which was nice. And they had that for everybody.
When I called one of the guys, Steve Ring, shout out to him, he even looked up because I had a question about those centering potentiometers. And he goes, oh, you got a new boat.
So they could tell a lot. And then, of course, we really appreciated meeting a lot of the other owners and and we'll just keep in contact with those folks because
Yeah.
we met some great people. And so, yeah. If Pat asks me to go to another class or says he's going, I would go to another one. I'd love like
We need to
a
do
lugger an engine room class, just an engine maintenance class. I think that would be good for me. I'm getting closer to maybe doing my captain's course. We'll see. The more I learn, the better. But I'd say, and we've been boating 15 years.
No longer than that.
Okay, longer than that. And there's always something to learn. So there are resources out there. This course was free. Not all of them are, but I find the resources for what you have. I think it can go a long way. And then you meet the people that can help you out when you
You're
need
not
it.
alone out there.
No, absolutely. So anyway, thanks for following along for hydraulics today. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Why are you even in here? Well, out of the engine room. Come on. Oh. Okay, come on. Go upstairs. Fine. I'll go. And then you go. Come on.